dark work mentality, we call it, has a very specific motto, and it's this: I have done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. It's a guttural ownership that you need to have supplied to you when the moment calls for it. But if you didn't do dark work to build into it, you don't get that ownership in that moment. And that's why someone who just is trying boxing, when you box a boxer, you're going to get murdered in the ring. It's not because they're more skills, because there's no way they're about to let you, who hasn't earned the right to beat them, beat them. But they earned it in the days, in the weeks, in the nights, in the mornings, not eating that, jump ropes, running, everything that you didn't touch and you didn't do, that they were doing when no one was clapping, no one was watching, making fun of them. Why you ain't partying? You come on, eat a burrito. Like if they just, they poke and they prod. Because of that, they are not going to let that be for nothing. And that is the fight that the most successful people I know have in them in different areas, right? It could be in writing, it could be in reading, who knows? But they've done that stuff. And so the competition might be just the weaker part of them, but they don't show up weak, and they don't show up with an imposter syndrome of like, I don't know if I can do it. Like imposter syndrome to me is just no preparation. You didn't work.
Welcome to the Perpetual Growth Podcast with Zach Palmer, the show where we explore the strategies, insights, and stories that empower you to grow your business, strengthen your relationships, and elevate your health. Because growth isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become along the way. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Anthony Trucks. Anthony is the CEO of Dark Work, author of Trust Your Hustle, a professional speaker, and identity shift coach who helps people to upgrade how they operate in order to be, do, and have more. Through Anthony's journey from foster care to the NFL to successful business owner and media personality, Anthony has developed a proven method to help individuals and organizations achieve their full potential by shifting their identity to reach peak performance. So if you're ready to do the dark work and achieve your full potential, let's dive in and take another step on your journey to perpetual growth. Anthony, welcome. Super excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here, man. Let's have a good conversation for the folks.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, as my audience knows, I always like to leave with the same question, which is if you would just tell our listeners a little bit about your story history. Where did you start in your professional career? And what were some of the, maybe challenges, the turning points, the milestones, the successes, that brought you from where you were to the life that you are experiencing and thriving in today?
Oh, well, if you go back to the first professional, we'll call it, entrance in the world was me playing in the NFL, which isn't really a typical job. It's a very interesting job. And then, you do this whole thing. So I played football, but then I tore my shoulder. That career was removed from me, and I kind of got thrust in this whole different, I call it identity crisis. We all have these moments where you wake up one day and either by choice or by chance, you can't do what you used to do that you've poured so much into. So I found myself coming home going like, I don't know who Anthony is without football. And a lot of us, we get stuck in this spin up sometimes for a lifetime. And thankfully I had enough people around me that kind of nudged me to do things. I chose to do something that's a whole novel idea for a former athlete. I got into fitness. None of us do that. So that whole realm. Now, as my saving grace, I do have a degree in kinesiology. That is the area of expertise, biology, anatomy, human physiology. So I know what I'm doing there. Started doing the whole thing, and it was crazy because I didn't get in at first as a guy with a job. I opened a business. I had a job at 24 Hour Fitness for a week, and I was like, I'm gonna do my own thing. So I got thrust into like the microcosm of the world in this business because you're having to figure out how to work with people who haven't been athletes and who are athletes and clientele and marketing and SOPs, and it's all this conundrum of crazy. And so I went through the whole ups and downs of a business for years, while also navigating personal life behind the scenes and having kids at a young age and married, divorced, and I'm now remarried to my ex-wife. Crazy whole world there too. But I found myself in this realm where I had gone through the journey of the business of fitness and got introduced to this world of consulting and speaking, made more money, had more time. I was like, I'm gonna do this. So I sold the gym and stepped full bore into this world of speaking. And in doing so, to navigate where I fit, where I'm of value. And I have an interesting story we haven't gotten to of like childhood and foster care and all this stuff. And then I started finding that there was some value to what I'd gone through, and I packaged it up to make it a message and put out into the world. And then whenever like an idea or a dream or something, the hard part is what you want has a price to be paid. And that price is a price that's above what your typical level of hard work is. And I love this concept I heard recently. I'm a man of faith, and I'm not going to go super biblical in any way, but this guy says, at the end of the day, your creator, your God has this plan for you. He puts it on your heart as this purpose, but he doesn't show you the path. He doesn't give you the plan. He says, here's what's supposed to happen at the end, but he doesn't, because if he showed you what it's going to look like, you'd be like, no, I don't want that. So the idea is this, you have to step into it. And so I went through the ups and downs. I, lost my marriage, got remarried, businesses doing well, business not doing well, just all the craziness of it all. And through that, I always was able to stay in the pocket. Where a lot of folks get out of it and they leave, stayed in the pocket. And so as I stayed in the pocket, it taught me more. I started realizing the things that we are all proud of that give us the best sense of self are the things that were the hardest. I call this dark work. It's what my brand is actually about. It's about the work you do in the dark that allows you to shine in the light. Everybody's done it. You've done it in your podcast, personally, but we've all done it in different parts of work. But we usually do it either accidentally or intentionally. And I just now know how to do it intentionally to become the guy I want to become, like you said in the intro. But I'm doing it not just because it's going to be cool, but I do want to be that guy because that guy gets access to more opportunities. That guy gets more of a perspective of life and a more enjoyable life, even while doing hard things. So yeah, ups and downs is all part of the journey, and I'm sure we'll unpack even more of it.
Yeah. No, well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate the transparency, and your story not only resonates with me on multiple levels. There's a lot of interesting parallels. I mean, I was an athlete. I've never made it close to professional level, so I'm not going to try and even hold that, close. But I mean, I think about what it takes to reach the collegiate level, let alone the professional level, and just how significant of a step up it is. And I mean, I've got to applaud and really honor and acknowledge you for the amount of effort that you had to put in to be able to achieve and earn those positions. I mean, that in and of itself is incredible. I personally went through a really difficult time where I, suffered a low back injury. I had a back surgery when I was 20 years old. It removed me from sports. That was a big identity shift. And, I'm really curious about that point in time for you, because that seems like, if I'm hearing you correctly, that was one of many, not the only one, but a major catalyst for really creating everything that you've built today. I mean, talk to us a little bit about that identity shift, because this is something that, whether you're a professional athlete or an individual that's going through a major life transition. And I like to think about professional athletes too, because it doesn't even come down to an injury. Sometimes it's, having spent a lifetime in the sport and then it's time to retire. And it still is a major identity shift because now you've got to create this different person. So talk to us a little bit about what that evolution looked like. What were some of the emotional trials that you went through, as well as how did you end up finding yourself, so to speak, through this process and experience? Where did it start?
That's a good question. Yeah. I don't know if I found myself. I don't know if we find ourselves. I think it's always interesting that like these ladies go, I gotta find myself. Yeah. I don't think you find yourself. I think you build yourself. Mm-hmm. I think we're always building ourselves. So my work's in the realm of identity. And for a lot of years, I didn't realize it was. I just thought I was like, thinking about people about mindset stuff. But at the end of the day, mindset it's a sub part of your identity. Like when you look at some of these, phenomenally high level people, executives, athletes, they don't tell you, well, my mindset is this. They just go, that's just how I do it. Mm-hmm. And it showed me something. I go, oh, so I don't know if I should seek to have the mindset. I should seek to function at a level where it's just how someone would describe that I do things. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at the different stages, all of us, we all typically have a goal or an aspiration or a dream. It's what keeps you getting up in the morning and moving. And some people, their goal is just to pay the bills and keep living life. Some people's goal is to create something big and impactful and live a cool life, that people may envy at some point, we'll call it. But the idea is there's going to be a next piece. And the higher the level it is, there's a certain level you have to kind of build into that. It's not just an everything, it's a becoming thing. And so the transitions, they don't always have to be there. But if you have a bigger goal, you should understand that they're going to be a necessity. It is quite literally what's going to have to happen, because if you were the kind of person to have that thing you want, you would already have it. Mm-hmm. Like, because there's a natural habited pattern and action for all of us that is our identity that shows up and has built the life we have right now. And so if you want more, you want to create something more, it can't be from the same state of how you function. But then people go, well, I don't want to be anybody different. It's to be out of character. I go, yeah, but out of character also is good. Like, out of character is the person who is, out of shape and didn't take care of themselves, and now it's out of character to eat healthy, but that's in a good direction. So you should seek out of character, and it will be uncomfortable because it's not just a thing you do, but you go and do, am I the kind of person that does this thing? Do I record podcasts? Do I reach out to people? Do I do videos? Do I do social media? No, that's not what I used to be. Yeah, no, but that thing you said you wanted, that's part of the requirements for it. And so we look back at the aspect of sports, right? Sports, yeah, there's big transitions that take place. That's usually when it's happening outside of your control. Like let's say it happens on demand or when crap hits the fan. And for me, when a lot of us crap hits the fan, we go, what do I do? And you're left in this kind of space of trying to navigate what the next stage looks like. And you just kind of muster up whatever you got and you go. And the crazy thing is, in a lot of those moments, you find that you had it in you the whole time. It was always there, but it had to be called out by something had to challenge you or put you at this precipice of choice to go up or down. And if you go forward and you go up, it's like, cool, like I had it the whole time. And I go, yeah, you had it the whole time, but you chose to do it only when crap hit the fan. And so what I recommend folks do is, yes, these moments will happen and there's gonna be something you can't handle. And yes, you do show up the way you're supposed to, but what if you became the kind of person that went after what you wanted and you did it on demand? You said, I want this, and you thrust yourself into that situation. Doesn't mean it's going to all of a sudden be easy, but you're the one in control of guiding the train and the machine of where things are moving. And then the stages of that usually they're interesting because we've broken down to a process we call the dark work experience. And I'm going to go deep into what that is, but just here's kind of the common sense things of it. You will first be presented with something that is going to challenge your ego. And the ego's, it's not a bad thing. I think people go like, oh, ego's negative. Like, oh, ego, I call it everyone's greatest obstacle, EGO. But what I think it really is, it's this thing where you have the sense of self and the ego protects your identity with its actions. So while, yes, there's going to be some aspects that are negative of maybe you won't take feedback from somebody or you're short tempered and something happens and you turn to like a certain kind of human as a track you run down. That's just your ego protecting a negative part of the identity. But think about when I play professional sports, my ego goes, you're a professional football player. So the actions showed up as watch film, stretch, work out, take care of my body, go to practice. The ego protected the identity with the actions of staying in line. So it's actually a great gift when you tap into it properly. The issue most folks run into is they see themselves a certain way. They say they want something, but then that means the ego has to be presented with things it's not doing. And it doesn't like that. And so that people make these excuses to not do this thing. And I go, great, stay there all day then. Because if you don't do this, you don't get that. And if your ego won't go down to give yourself permission to improve, you're not going to get this attainment. So typically it's the first part is doing that. And then you're going to start noticing that the things you have to do, they're butt puckering. Literally. Like things, you're going to have to do things that you've never done, you don't feel comfortable doing. They're going to challenge your sense of self. And the hardest is when you're already successful because you've already gone through that journey of sucking at something and like now you're good. And when somebody presents this new thing to you that's going to make you possibly look less than status wise, your ego don't like that. So now it's like, well, shoot, I want this. I want to go higher, but I don't want to look stupid. Like, I'll just tell you, man, that's the price of admission again. Like it's what it has to be. Yeah. And so a part of it is leaning into something and going, you know what? I'm not going to identify. So I'm big. Don't identify with the outcome because you will feel stupid. People talk about imposter syndrome. I go, you should feel that. You haven't done it before. Why would you think that you should feel great and confident about it? It doesn't make logical sense. But it's because you're identifying with the end destination. What if you identify with the effort? If you're the person that goes, all right, I know that to get there, I got to take these 1,000 steps. I'm going to identify with taking a step today. Take the step. If somebody comes up and goes, well, who do you think you are? You think you're that guy? No, I don't actually. I think I'm the person who took step 1 today. And then next week took step 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's who I am. And if that's the case, and you start getting to the point of like, you feel confident because you took the action, you still suck at that thing you're building into, but you're doing the necessary work to build. And that becomes something where over time it goes through this journey. That is where I think an actual identity shift takes place. And I call it a dominator's identity. When people ask what I really do, I go, I develop dominator's identities. And what that is, it's a person that can govern and control and exert control in heightened situations. And usually you're governing and controlling, we'll call it dominating, the weaker version of you that wants to stay where it's at. The one that goes, it's too hard, I'm too tired. That's the weaker version of you popping up saying, stay back here with me. And I go, nope, I want to keep moving, right? But here's what it looks like. That version pops up when you do that first thing I talked about. It's uncomfortable. It's your ego had to go down and you do it. And it's a 10 of 10 of discomfort. It sucks. It hurts. It's painful. It's weird. People look at you funny, right? But here's the thing. If you look at it with the right eyes, you can go, ooh, well, that sucked. And it was a 10. I got a little bit of insight. I could probably do it better next time. And so you go try it again. And then when you try it again, you go out and it's like, all right, it's a 9.5. And now logical people, which are normal people, they'll go, all right, that was hard, 9.5, I'm done. The masochists, the successful humans go, all right, I learned something else again. Let me try it again. You step in, now it's a 9, and then it goes to an 8, and 8.5. And every step, someone's going, why are you still subjecting yourself to this difficulty? Are you stupid? Like, what's wrong with you? You're not good at this. You go, I know, but I'm less not good than I was before, you know? So you keep going. Eventually it goes 8, 7, 6. It gets down to 0. And at that level, most people go, oh, it's painless. I go, no, no, no. You're missing it. It's not painless. It's joy. Mm-hmm. At that level, when you've done this thing, you've battled this thing, you're in a different situation. What ends up happening is you're in a space of pure joy because you know what it took to get there. You have pride around this. You have confidence around this. You've added to the repertoire of who you are. You're a dog again at a whole new level. You're a dominator taking that next level of life. And what I've noticed also is when you step into that moment, having gone through the journey of 10 to 0, there's a different animal inside of you. The dark work mentality we call it has a very specific motto, and it's this: I have done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. It's a guttural ownership that you need to have supplied to you when the moment calls for it. But if you didn't do dark work to build into it, you don't get that ownership in that moment. And that's why someone who just is trying boxing, when you box a boxer, you're going to get murdered in the ring. It's not because they're more skills, because there's no way they're about to let you, who hasn't earned the right to beat them, beat them. But they earned it in the days, in the weeks, in the nights, in the mornings, not eating that, jump ropes, running, everything that you didn't touch and you didn't do, that they were doing when no one was clapping, no one was watching, making fun of them. Why you ain't partying? You come on, eat a burrito. Like if they just, and they poke and they prod. Because of that, they are not going to let that be for nothing. And that is the fight that the most successful people I know have in them in different areas, right? It could be in writing, it could be in reading, who knows? But they've done that stuff. And so the competition might be just the weaker part of them, but they don't show up weak, and they don't show up with an imposter syndrome of like, I don't know if I can do it. Like imposter syndrome to me is just no preparation. You didn't work. Because when I look at when I played in the NFL, I didn't have dudes on my team that were like, I don't know if I want to go play today. What if they're like, hey, let me loose. Like, why? They watched the film. They lifted the weights. They ran the routes. Bro, let's go, because I'm ready to go show the world what I'm ready for, because I did that work when you didn't.
That is incredible. I mean, there's so many different things that I want to unpack here. I got to figure out where to start. A couple of things that you said that really clicked with me. One thing I frequently say to clients from stage in many different environments is, we're rewarded in public for the things that we practice in private. It's the things that you don't see us doing that make you stand out as one of the best in the world. And not only that, it's like another component of that to me is I've conditioned my mind to where I don't negotiate with myself. Like if there's something that I fear, I've trained my mind to be like, we're going to go run at that thing. Because I know that in some way, it's going to be developing who I am as a man at my core. It's going to be building that muscle so that when the next challenge presents itself, I can make that decision in a moment to move toward that thing. Now, what I want to take a step back and get your perspective on is you talked a little bit about, from a very high level, two different types of people. There are the people that are just comfortable with where they're at, and they'll spend the majority of their life there, which unfortunately I believe is the vast majority of the populace today. And then there are the people that make a different decision. They're like, I want to be more, do more, have more, impact more, create more. And they have and adopt a different set of beliefs. And those beliefs fundamentally, I mean, are who we are as a person. Like you mentioned that some people are like, when I look at this person, what do you see? It's the way that they decide to show up. Well, that comes down to a belief about who they are as a person. I am or I am not. I will or I will not. I run to or I run away from. What for you, like I believe that everybody has that potential within them. Everybody on some level. However, so many people lean into mediocrity, lean into the flow of the common versus really pursuing the thing that is speaking to their heart, the thing that we know that we are all meant to become, something greater and more. What would you say to somebody that's on that precipice that maybe has spent a lifetime in that place of the commonplace, but still has that internal belief somewhere in them that I can make this shift now, regardless of age, regardless of stage of life? Where does that decision start? Where does that journey start?
Such in a lot of places. So my gut tells me to go to one spot, which is ideally a person that isn't able to hear that. They're not going to be able to hear it from me anyways, because they're not going to be in my proximity typically. What I mean is there's a world we live in which removes people from the proximity of real people who will tell you the truth that you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. And we are in a very pacified society. It never used to be okay to be weak, to be out of shape, to accept, like, I don't know, just accept something as being like too hard. It's like nowadays, like, it's too hard. It's okay. Just, it wasn't for you. Like, nah, that's not how it works. What are you talking about? Like, if you wanted that and it was hard, it was supposed to be, And so we live in a space. And so for me, what I would tell someone is it's supposed to be. And you now live in this world where people are trying to make themselves feel more comfortable, because the mediocrity, it's not that I think people seek mediocrity, but they aren't fighting the brain's desire for ease, which is literally what it wants. It wants to say, how can I make this easy? At a cellular level, the body adapts to ease. If you are trying to go and run marathons, you lose weight in running, right? Because you're running. Why? Because the body wants it to be easier to run that distance. So it gets rid of the fat that you're just hanging around that's slowing you down. If you want to lift weights, the body is adapting to make your muscles bigger. So it's easier to lift the heavier weights. It sounds weird, but that's what's going on. The same thing with life. So your body's designed for ease, and we don't fight that at a psychological level. The brain is not designed to do anything more than to adapt. Like, that's what we're supposed to do, to adapt and be safe, right? It's not supposed to optimize. It doesn't shoot for goals. It's just supposed to adapt. So if you don't give it the stimuli, it won't happen. And so if you're in a group of people or in a society and you accept that and you lean into it, and someone goes, yeah, that is right. Because nowadays the idiots are very, very compelling. I'll not explain that. I have heard some people that they're so good with words, and when you stop and listen, you go, but they're talking out of their butt. What is going on? Like, the things they're saying just don't make sense. And it's for me, I have to stop and pause and go, I can't listen to eloquent idiots anymore. I got to go, what is the thing that my gut's telling me based on what I want, and go. Now, if somebody was to come around and they were to listen to me, they were to sit down, I would say that the thing you're most proud of in your life right now, you're proudest because of how hard it was. That's it. My wife, she talks about having the kids, and that's a conversation ladies have all the time. It's hard. The first rule of CrossFit is always talk about CrossFit. Why? It's hard, right? Some of the hardest things people do. The idea that you can have something you're proud of without having done the hard work is not a good idea. It's just not how it works. You need to seek the thing that's hardest, because the thing that's hardest gives you the most sense of pride and confidence and accomplishment that you are seeking, that allows you to step into the next stage and borrow from one piece of confidence and apply it to the next one. And so for all of us, like when I look at the stuff I'm talking about, a lot of what I do with folks is I call it designing your dark. Like, once you understand what you're supposed to work on, it's clear. I have to now design that. And interestingly, like, I am not the best at writing my own workouts, and this will make sense in a moment. I have a degree in kinesiology. I own this gym. I did this whole thing, and I don't write my own workouts. I have a trainer. I was just messaging him before we hopped on, man. And I do it because I won't make the workout as hard as it needs to be for me. I'll make him hard, but he'll do things, and I'm like, why would you do this to me, man? But I do it. Right. Yeah. And I realize that we can't push ourselves in the same level that somebody else can. And so you have to kind of separate yourself from that. And what I say with design your dark is, if I could do that in fitness, I need to actually plan this thing as if I'm not planning it for me. And so I go, I need you to step back and go, what do you want? Who is the person that has that? What are the traits of their identity? What habits, patterns, and actions do you think created those traits? What should that look like daily and hourly, whatever it may be? And then you structure that. And then you step in and go, oh, I got to do that now. And it should feel weighty, right? And that's good. It's supposed to. But now what you do is you lean in to go, and this is what has to get done because it's the path of what I want. And now you have a logical disconnect from the things people say, where they go, oh, it's okay. You could do it next week. You could do it next year. You missed the workout. It's okay. Get it tomorrow. No, because that's not who the person that has what I want would do. I used to actually, when I did a lot of work with calendaring for people, I'd say, hey, let's look at it this way. If your hero followed you around for a day, what would they say? Would they say, great job, you're working real hard? Would they look at you and go, I'm sorry, you want to have what I have, and this is how you're operating every day? You might as well chalk it up. And so it's not an easy pill to swallow. And for people that are trying to get started, I need you to breathe into the idea that what you're about to set out on is going to probably be one of the hardest things you ever do. But it doesn't mean you're going to hate every level of it. It gets easier over time because you get stronger over time, but you will never regret the work you did. You'll actually love that you did it. Like I love the guy who stepped into a space of like, I'm going to go be a speaker for a living. I'm going to go and be a coach and I'm going to go consult. And it was a dumb idea out of statistics. It's a dumb idea comparatively, phenomenal idea for my life now and very hard to battle through. Now I could spend time with you in the morning, hang out with my wife, take my kids to school, go watch my son run track in college. And I just live my life how I choose to live my life. But it's because that dude leaned in and he just started rocking and rolling. And the plan was always presented damn near by the day. And he just stepped in and finished the day. I identified with the day and the daily actions and the step, not the outcome. And the more I did that, the more the outcome came to me. And I surpassed that and went on to more. But that is what people have to embrace and understand. And it's not, again, it's not trying to develop skills. It's not trying to read the book. It's trying to become the kind of person that does that thing. When you do, you'll find that what is hard to do now eventually becomes hard not to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when it becomes hard not to do, it becomes part of your literal identity and it becomes effortless effort to do it. So somebody's going to walk up to you and go, gosh, how did you do that every single month? And you go, every month? I do it every day between 9 and 10 a.m. And it's like, it's almost like your brain has to register. What is this person talking about? But you used to be that person.
Yeah.
You just built out of it. And now it's your cadence to do that. And you're on to the next thing. So that person's sitting there, and if they have the same goal as you, whatever it is, that person, whatever they would do, let's say in an 8-hour day, and their 8 hours, they probably stop at, hour 3. I would say hour 4 in that week and that day, and they can't get it done. And then I'm doing all my 8-hour stuff that day. Well, at the end of the year, I have 2 years to year 1. And I built a different human inside of me who can handle that without stressing. So what you're freaking out on, I can get that done and press on to more. And so, yeah, there's no wonder why my life is different. No wonder why I have more. I built this guy to be differently.
Yeah. Very, very, very thoughtful answer. There's so many pieces about this story and what you're sharing that speak to me on a really high level. Like one thing I keep thinking about is, so I want to talk about the process of creation and then lean into decision. And what I mean by that is I'm going to lead with, I'm sure you're familiar with the book. Oh my gosh, now I can't think of the name of the book. The Alter Ego Effect.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, and one of the things that I found so fascinating about his philosophy, and this really helped me adopt this idea of identity as to you're speaking to it holistically right now, and transform my kind of mindset or belief around it. At first, when he was talking about the alter ego and adopting these different personality types and really looking at, who are the figureheads, the superheroes, the mentors, the coaches, the people that you look up to, either in your actual life or, as a proxy through entertainment or whatever the thing may be. And, he suggests that you start modeling some of their habits, their behaviors, their character traits. And, he speaks to the fact that a lot of people initially think that this is disingenuous. But what he said that really struck me was he speaks to how when you have that calling, when you recognize something in someone else that feels like, I want to have that. I want to have that spark, the way that they show up, the charisma, the desire, the eloquence in speech, the whatever the thing or things may be. What it is it's really that part of your conscious or unconscious mind that's speaking up and saying, hey, this is already in you, but you need to go develop it. And the best way to do that is find those people to model, to anchor to, and see yourself as if you are living through their lens. And all of a sudden, what happens is it organically becomes a much, much greater part of you. So the question that lies in this is there's that initial decision of who am I going to model? What are the character traits, the values, the decisions that I want to make? I mean, in terms of creating who I want to become. And the second part of it is, so first, where does that start? And then the second part to the question is, you've got somebody that's at one of these transitional points. Mm-hmm. And they don't know what to do next. They don't know what they want to become. They know they want to do something different. They know that they want to be a creator. They know that they want to have greater depth and breadth of impact. But they've done things, one way for the most part. They've been down one track for a very long time.
Yeah, very much so.
There's this idea, and I'm hearing this kind of polarity where we have to make a decision and start moving a new direction. And there's no question about that, right?
Yep, 100%.
But the other side of it is, can we run at that decision, Or can there be some wisdom in allowing that to unfold, deciding that I'm moving a new direction, but also having the patience? Because you talk about not getting too married to the outcome. Sometimes people don't know what that outcome is even meant to be when they've been conditioned to go one direction for so long, by friends, by family, by environment, by all the stuff. So, I would love to hear your perspective on those two things. The beginning process of creating the identity, and then when you're going through one of those shifts, what does that look like initially? Are we turning? I mean, is it, I know for me, I took over business when I was 19 years old. It was Mach 10 with my hair on fire for 18 years.
Same.
It was like, and I used to wear it as a badge of honor. Now my life priorities have shifted, where same thing with consulting. I've got more time freedom. I earn more. I now get to spend the time with my kids. I never miss a soccer game, never miss an event. That to me is worth its weight in gold, especially when I can have the marriage of all these things together. But it didn't just happen. That it's an evolution and it's still evolving. So anyway, I would just love to hear your perspective on those two things, the identity and the process.
Yep. And that's the big thing, is the identity is a major piece of it. And I like the alter ego concept, because it's like, hey, you're going to activate this person. Yeah. And there's a whole way that his flow is in there. I like the idea of saying, as opposed to activating that person at random times and stepping back out of it, what if I just became and stayed Superman? What if Superman showed up to work as Superman? I mean, like, that's kind of how I want to have that persona emanate throughout, because it conceptually is cool, but to a lot of us, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I want to make sure I'm consistent across the board. But then there's a question of, well, how do I do that? And you're right. Part of our process is you have to actually research and study people, and you don't take all parts. Like, there's certain aspects of human beings that, like, I like how The Rock shows up in his training regimen, but I don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, and I don't want to be only at my house twice, a month, like for an hour and a half, and be out of it. Like, there's a different cadence. So I go, well, I like this, I don't like that. And you can actually start to look at these collective pieces and go, man, I'd love to have these traits in these areas. But then I started to go another level. And you've said it a couple of times, I want to have more, do more. And I started noticing, as I would talk to people, that they had that same desire, but they didn't know exactly where to go. They didn't know exactly how to take steps. So I go, well, how do we get more, clear on the specifics? Like, how to get to the minutia of it. And so we create this process called Roots and Fruits. And it allowed me to kind of open up life and go, let me take a look at the segments. And there's 10 of them. And there's obviously more, but in our work, there's 10. And I look at it conceptually like this. A root of a tree allows a tree to be able to be deep and rooted and grounded. So when the storms of life come blowing, it stays stable. It also creates a space to grab nutrients to be able to produce the fruits up top. So roots and then fruits. And also the idea, which is great in terms of the law of advancement, things have to go down in order to go up. Like, you have to have something as a setback, an investment to grow your money, right? So in a tree, the roots have to go down to be able to have the tree go up, right? So I have to go deep into the darkness, which is that dark work, and develop depth of root. So for each of the 5, we'll call them the 5 roots, is going to be health, education. Sorry, it's not a health education. It's faith, family, health, and then it's going to be emotional control, and it's going to be, why did I miss this one? Faith, family, friends, emotions, and health. So faith, family, friends, emotions, and health. The faith, family, friends, like, faith could be faith in self, faith in a higher power. Family is family you have close to you. Friends, a family you choose. Health's going to be the thing that's health, and emotional controls emotions in the heated moments of life. When you are rooted in these areas, what happens is, when things happen, you don't have to stress off that. You can manage it well. But if maybe your health is all over the place, it's hard to be anchored and controlling, right? If your family is off and you're fighting with your wife all the time, I'm not the same centered person. If my friendships are lacking, I don't have someone to lean on when it comes time. If something goes wrong and I spin up, I lose control. There's a statement I love which says, a person is only as powerful as the smallest thing that can shake them. So I found, like, if in a heated emotional situation, is this thing going to be big enough to take me out, right? And so I kind of manage that. But if that's good, well, now I'm rooted, and I can get the nutrients from the soil, we'll call it, and I can actually produce great fruits. The fruits: career, education, finances, escape, which is exploration of life, and living in purpose, like whatever your purpose may be. And I think you have to earn the purpose in time. And so what I do is I'll take all of these, and I'll have people actually numerically gauge these and go, well, why do you give it that number? What do you have to do to make it a 1, or like 1 more, essentially? So if you come in and I go, hey, my root of health is a 7. Okay, cool. How do you make it an 8? Not make it a 10 and 8. If it's like, hey, my family base is a 4. Okay, how to make it a 5? Because if you go make it a 10, it's just there's too much going on. There's just you don't even know. And then you find that sometimes finance, you go, oh, I'm gonna a 5 for finances, and you get to what you think would be a 10. You go, the 10's a 1. Like I
Mhm.
thought, that's nothing. Like you think
Mhm.
when you're first starting business, you go $1 million is great. Then you make a million, and you go, I'm still broke. How did that happen? It's like what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
So it's a weird dynamic. But the idea is when you do this, you can step back and go, all right, here are the traits of me. Which ones do I want to work on right now? You can't do all. You can, but it's hard. And go, who exhibits these traits in a positive way or what I would deem to be aspirational? Okay. What do I think are the habits, patterns, and actions of that identity? How do they think? How do they process? What are they doing? I call it the hard method. What are the habits, actions, reactions, and drivers? What are the habits they have? What are the big actions they take? What are the ways that they would react in good and bad situations? What's the reason behind the scenes why I or they would do that? And then I have that as an operational piece behind how I'm trying to put this into my life. And then when I say design the dark, I'm now designing a life hour by hour, minute by minute sometimes, that infuses this into it. And like you said, yes, it seems distant, it seems separate, it's not who I am right now. It could be the alter ego, kind of like it's a different thing until you start doing it. And then over time, little by little, you've given this time to it. We have what's called investment bias as humans. When I invest in something, I'm biased to want something in return, right? If I invest money, I want the money to grow. If I invest in a hamburger, you better feed me. You know what I mean? So when I invest in this area that is uncomfortable, that doesn't feel like my norm right now, the return is self-confidence, it's credibility, it's stability in who I am. It's this pride, right? This power. So the investment gets the return that you've been looking for. That again, that imposter syndrome, or not feeling like that identity. The only separation is have you done that stuff and have you earned the seat at the table? If you see someone that's running this great business doing their stuff, yeah, great. You can try to get the things they have, but they have those things because of who they are, and who they are is because of what they went through. And if you don't go through that, you don't get to become that. And so the idea is step by step, leaning into the steps, the habits, the patterns, the actions to earn that sense of self, because then the thing that you want most to come to you, it almost naturally comes to you because you are the person doing the things habitually, actionably, almost instinctually to bring it towards you.
Mm. Yeah. That's very, very well said. I mean, what would you say to that person? Like you did an absolutely amazing job talking about everything that goes into sculpting and creating the identity. And I love your thoughts on how it literally has to be created and the points of resistance are the things that actually help contribute to us becoming the greatest version of ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that people need to remember so often. I mean, I think everybody needs that reminder, especially when you're going through something challenging, is this is all by design. Every problem is an opportunity. Every challenge is a gift. The only thing that has to shift is the way that we look at it. If you look at a problem as a problem, you're going to get more of them. If you transform the belief around that problem being an opportunity, a higher calling, a move, a call to action, that this is the thing that you need to overcome right now in order to achieve your next level of greatness, of internal wherewithal, of like whatever the character trait might be, then you actually gain power over this situation and you gain an air of fluidity because you start to realize that life happens for you, not to you. And so many of us become reactive, but to the things that are transpiring in our life. When we realize that we're actually living a life by design, by creation, and they're all gifts, then it completely transforms that experience.
It
What I
does.
really want to hear your perspective on a little bit deeper is that turning point.
Mhm.
You know, be it a man or a woman, maybe it's the mother that has been, at home for the last 18 years taking care of the kids and the household, and all of a sudden it's empty nest and she's going through this transition and it's like, I want to get back out and start creating the person that I was. She stepped into a
Mhm.
role that was absolutely necessary. It was something that fulfilled her, that brought love and joy. And
Yeah.
now that those kids have grown out, she has to create the next step. And same thing for the
Mhm.
man. Maybe it's a midlife career shift, and or
Yeah.
maybe he makes a new decision. He's like, I'm sick of this corporate environment, and I want to
Yeah.
go create something unique. But they don't
Mhm.
know what that thing is. Where
Yeah.
does the process start? Is the identity a part of that process,
Oh, yeah.
or is it more? Are you teaching people to look for and explore that internal calling? Is there something that's always there, even though it's not there? Like, where does that begin?
What do you do?
Mhm.
Curiosity.
Mm.
Begins with curiosity, man. So what you're talking to is a very common thing. It's why people call it the midlife crisis. They get to this
Yeah.
point of their living life and they've developed themselves into somebody that now is aware of what they don't have. I'm
Mhm.
aware of what I could be having. I'm aware of somebody else having it. And like then you start questioning, did I waste my time? Did I do the wrong thing? And I don't think anybody did. And I do believe it's not as hard as you think because you don't, when you leave something, you don't have, an empty toolbox. You now have a toolbox that was developed in a different area that you can bring tools to something new. Right. When I first left the NFL, I go, man, I'm worthless. I have nothing to provide to the world because I can't tackle anybody anymore. When the reality was like not a bag full of intangible tools. And if I brought those into the real world, I could learn what you have learned, but you can't learn what I have learned.
Yes.
You haven't been in my walk. And so when I brought that mentality, it changed things. But then there's another piece of it where I said curiosity fits in. Most folks go, I got this bag of tools. Where do I take it? What's my purpose? What do I do with it? I think your purpose, being aware of it, is a genuine gift. I don't think you just get to have that. I think it has to be pulled out of you and you have to earn the right to know what it is, to wake up every day in that space of knowing like there's a reason for this difficulty, a reason for me to kind of, have to fight this challenge. And what it starts with is curiosity. You see something, it intrigues you. And there's a reason why. When you have curiosity, you will give something hours without counting the hours. I'll research, I'll watch it, I'll pay attention to it. And then this investment bias comes circling back around. When you're 20, 30, 40, 100 hours deep into something, there's like this idea of like, man, I know this, I feel cool about this. And tell your friends about it. Like I got a friend who's got a green thumb. He loves talking about plants. I don't even know where curiosity for plants came in, but he starts getting plants and he comes to my house. Can I take your succulent from whatever, bro, take the plant, But he's been so curious about it. He leaned into it. You get this confidence around this area, right? And so what happens is curiosity then leads into this passion. And when you're curious and you get passionate about something, you have this energy where you're just giving to it and it fills you up as you pour out. So I start with uncounted hours and it leads to passion. And the passion is fun and it's engaging. And I feel lit up to be learning about this and trying this thing, right? And you start walking this path of life, this path of new habits, new hobbies, new people, new environments, new rooms you're going into. My wife does master's track. We just got back from Florida. And so what happens is there was first this idea of like curiosity. Can I run track at 36 years old? And it's like, yeah, she went and ran college track and she got passionate about it, right? And you start doing this whole thing and little by little you start stumbling into the fact that she's really good. She's, found her thing. And it looks like this. For most people, it's curiosity, but they don't have the balls or lady balls to pursue it. Yeah. So they never get passionate about it. They have a deep-seated like gnawing of curiosity that they never explore. So they never get passionate about it. And they can't get rid of this idea of what it is and why am I so enamored by this? Then the passion goes, and if you chase the passion, you start to move towards the purpose area. But I think as you're walking this passionate path, you're doing this thing, you're investing time, you're giving the energy. And again, it's not counted and you're having fun doing it. I think you stumble into a pothole of purpose. It shows up out of blue like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like for me, I was the guy that ran, played football, ran around on a football field, loved doing that. Then I come home and I got this curiosity. What would it be like to open a gym of my own? So I opened the gym. And then as I'm doing the gym, I go, people are asking me to talk about this stuff. And so I'm like, I wonder what that would feel like. So curiosity, I chase this, speaking about fitness stuff. Started liking it a lot and realized there's more I can talk about than just how to run faster and change direction as an athlete. Start talking about my life. And so I have this kind of, introduction of that. I'm pushing it out there and I get really dialed in. I'm doing videos every day and I'm passionate about it. And then I end up in a situation where I have this moment to be on a really big stage and I kill it. And it wasn't because I was just good randomly. I'd spent so many different hours beforehand filming videos and getting my words right and be able to speak clearly and extemporaneously. And in doing it, I just had this moment of just pure bliss of just moving and talking and sharing and all this stuff. And then I hop off stage and somebody goes, I'm so glad that the world presented to you what you're supposed to do while you're here. Like pretty much different words going like, that's where you belong. Like I don't have any idea what else I could do on this planet that would be of more benefit to the world and that I would enjoy. I've thought of it. I don't know what it is, but I would not be this guy in this position speaking for the Amazons, Googles, T-Mobiles, Chick-fil-A's, these different big companies, if I didn't first have curiosity and didn't chase the passion of it to land into a space where I go, this is why I'm here, man. Like the life I've lived, the people I've met, the things I've spent time on, the empathy, the compassion, the passion. I stumbled into my pothole of purpose. And so that for me is, I think, where people have to start realizing when you want to find out what your thing is, you already have a seed. It's not clear, but the seed's going to be one that starts with curiosity. What can you show up to? And you'll give the hours without counting the hours. And then you melt away into it. And then as you do that, where do you start finding yourself wanting to go farther into it passionately, to where you're sharing it with people and talking about it, and people think you're crazy. No one thinks you're crazy for being curious. They think you're crazy when you're passionate, but there's a precursor. So when you're passionate, they're like, what is wrong with this psychopath who wants to go talk and do his thing? And then you do it. And here's where my best friend and my wife at a point in time were like, that speaking is not a real career. You should not pursue that. That is not something that's going to pay the bills. Like it's not real. And I go, no, people do this. They make a living doing it. I don't know. And like, they didn't believe me. For 10 years, I did this thing. And it wasn't until like maybe a year and a half ago, my best friend, who's one of the ones that goes, don't do that goes, I get it. He's like, I love watching you do what you do. He's like, I'm glad you didn't listen to me way back when the beginning started, because like I bought my wife a new Mustang and I'd be able to, I'd financially cover our household. Like, and I do these cool things. But he's like, dude, I would have never thought it's possible. And so I tell people that I've only got to this place of others seeing that my purpose is this because I was bold enough to find the curiosity and chase it passionately.
That's beautiful. There's one thing I gotta honor and acknowledge you for, and this is in particular for the male listeners, because I don't think that there are enough conscious representations of something that you just did, which was showcasing vulnerability. And, it's something that's so ironic. It's a conversation that comes up periodically in today's world, but I don't think there's enough masculine male vulnerability, which I believe is actually a superpower. And for you, it was talking about the transformation of going from the football, the star athlete, the injury, to who am I going to become now? And I just want to take a moment to honor and acknowledge you for being vulnerable with us in the audience in that moment and really talking about some of the emotional states and experiences that you went through, because I don't think there's enough of that. And I think it's one of these things that creates relatability, it creates transparency, and it helps humanize to the rest of the world what otherwise seems like somebody who may be superhuman. And I think that is a gift and a necessity, so that it creates this belief that we can all achieve more regardless of what you've done in your past. And I really like the idea that you talk about curiosity and passion, and how curiosity can evolve into passion, and also the stages of, how people perceive that. Like when you're passionate, you're crazy. When you're curious, you're normal. And it's so true. I mean, that made me reflect on multiple times throughout my life where people were like, this is never going to work. And I'm like, well, watch me.
We'll do something.
Yeah, this is the fuel for me more than anything. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, Anthony, I'm curious, if there was like one tip, one tool, one strategy, and I know this is like one of the most challenging questions, but if you were to encourage people where to get started on this journey, what in a moment I'm going to have you share any and all opportunities people will have to connect with you and see how they can work with you. But if there was an inception point as to where this journey begins, what does that look like? What is the first question people need to start to ask themselves?
Yeah, well, like anything, if you think about GPS, if I want to have a destination be one I get to, I have to know where I'm starting at. Most folks don't. Our identities are all crafted accidentally, honestly. It's just like teachers, preachers, coaches, leaders, television, news, radio, movies. It all just pops in, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is who I am. And I go, yeah, but that was created just haphazardly and with no intention. You could do it intentionally, but you have to know where you're starting. Yeah. So what we did is I actually had a PhD create an assessment. I worked with her like painstakingly to go through this assessment that allows someone to figure out where they're at on this. It's called it's Dominator's identity grid, right? Dark work assessment. But the assessment is basically me seeing where you stand on one of 4 types of identities that you'll be able to say, okay, here's the next thing I should do. And it all is based on a grid that has intersections between opposition and opportunity. And it's a big intersection for all of us, because every moment is literally the middle of an opposition or opportunity, right? If somebody presents like, hey, I got this new business opportunity. Yeah, as an opportunity is also opposition. I got a job. I don't have time, right? It's going to be scary, whatever it is. But it's how you emotionally show up. If you show up to emotion or that moment with an emotion in opportunity and opposition, you go, man, when opportunity arises, I question it. I slow roll it. I'm stagnant. And the fear of opposition pops into your head. It's going to be so hard. You're what we call a dreamer. A dreamer can talk about what they're going to do all day with their big dreams. They never move past that. They don't do anything with it. You then have what's called a dabbler, someone that looks at opportunity and goes, I'm in. But the moment opposition rears its head, they shut down. They're on to the next shiny object, hence dabbling. Then you have someone who is going to be what I call a defender. This is our highly successful people, but they're going to get stuck there because what happens is they step into life and go, all right, well, I've done some cool things. I have a good status. And so when opposition comes to try to attack my status, I battle it. But opportunity poses a threat to my current status. I don't want to take on the new opportunity. They slow roll it, it goes by. These are called defenders. They're defending their position. They never advance. The last is a dominator. And a dominator is a person that looks at opportunity and goes, let's do it, because they can make decisions fast, change their mind slow, but they know there will be opposition. But they know they bring themselves to the opposition. Let's go, right? And then when they see opposition, they go, well, shoot, if this is opposition to me, it's opposition to everybody else. But I know that within the opposition, there's always a space of opportunity if I'm the sole one going after it. Let's go. Yeah. And so that person can approach things way differently. And there's different levels to dominator. We're not going to go deep into those. But the idea that people are trying to get somewhere, you have to first start with, like, where am I at? Are you a dreamer? And ask yourself, when opportunity shows up, do you second guess it forever and never pursue it? When opposition rises its head, do you shut down a little bit? And are you scared, or do you step up quickly with your chest out, right? If you're a person that's a dreamer, you got to work on both. If you're a defender, you have to start taking on opportunity, realizing you're a person that's already done this. You have greatness in you. Just go tap into it again, right? Don't be afraid of opportunity. Go forward, look stupid to get greater in time. If you're a dabbler, you have to learn how to stay in the pocket when the hardship rises. So yes, you have this opportunity you've chased and something new comes up that's hard to battle. You got to stick in it. You have to move past that little mountain, because when you do, you get to that rare air that few people are actually at. And so anybody listening right now, if you go to darkwork.com and take the assessment, it'll provide you an insight of which one you are based on a series of questions. It's not like a quick little basic, we spend some time to really get it figured out. Like, it's designed in a way where you can't game the system. It's going to figure out who you are based on the questions, but it'll give you clarity on where you actually need to start your intentional work moving forwards.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, number one, what a cool tool. And I'm going to make sure that we've got that URL listed in the notes so everybody can find darkwork.com. And although it's pretty easy to remember, but what I love about what you did too is, you talked about the idea of a GPS, and it's like, in order to know where we're going, we also have to know where we're starting from. And you've created these 4 archetypes that really give us clear perspective on what that actual starting point is, and then something that we can aspire toward. But you also built it in a ladder-like mentality, where it's like, I'm not just going from step 1 all the way to the highest version of myself and identity. It's I've got to work on one step or person in the process of evolution and becoming throughout time. And I think that's a really cool gift. And I love that you created something so unique. And it's also a reflection of you, which I don't think you see enough of today. I mean, there's countless different personality tests that the majority of us know, but you integrated something that is also a core component of who you are and your coaching philosophy and everything that you're designing. And that's a really, really unique gift and opportunity. So I want to honor you for that. Now, I want to thank all of our listeners for spending your time with us on the Perpetual Growth Podcast today. And of course, a big shout out to Anthony Trucks for bringing so much value to today's conversation. Now, Anthony, you mentioned darkwork.com, where our listeners can take the assessment and learn more about their current personality type or archetype. And, where is it best for people to reach out and learn more about what you're working on or how they might get in touch with you? Is darkwork.com the best place, or are there other resources?
Darkwork.com, or if you go to Instagram, @darkwork on Instagram. And then you do it, I'll hop here in a second. But yeah, if you just go to @darkwork on Instagram, you'll find me and all the stuff we do there.
Fantastic. Well, if this episode sparked something for you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review to help us reach even more people on their growth journey. And remember, growth doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. We'll see you next time.